If you are interested in starting your own podcast, we use Buzzsprout because it is simple and easy to use. Buzzsprout can get your show listed on every major platform while giving you the resources for a great podcast website, audio players that can drop into other websites, detailed analytics to see how people are listening to your podcast, and tools to promote your episodes. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and that is why over 100,000 podcasters are already subscribed to Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. Following the link in our episode descriptions lets Buzzsprout know that we sent you. So in return, you will receive a $20 Amazon gift card from Buzzsprout while signing up for a paid plan. Most importantly, every subscription through our link is always appreciated and helps support our show so we can continue delivering the quality content that you guys listen to. That being said, back to the show.
Hello and welcome to Comic Book Junkies. I'm Andrew.
This is Joe.
And this week, we're not doing any book reading. We're just coming at you with another topic episode. I feel like we have a lot more fun doing those. I know it's more fun for me because I don't have to read 200 plus pages in a week's time. I know Joe probably appreciates that too. We're busy guys. But we're going to have a villain episode. We're going to have a few different topics, about 3 different segments here. All, pretty much related to villains and, stuff about them. Hero or villain. If you could be a henchman for one of them, who would you work for? And some of the worst villains that we could think of. So, we've got a little bit going on, but let's start off with our first topic today. So the first question I'm going to pose to you, Joe, is, we're big comic dorks, obviously. Heroes or villains? Who do you prefer more when you're reading a story? Who kind of, grips you more? Who do you find yourself kind of following? Like, do villains make the story more for you or does the hero?
I think it all comes down to how you look at yourself, characteristics that are interesting to you personally. For me, I align more with the heroes. Even when I went through a little Transformers phase, I like the Autobots over the Decepticons. I've always been a big Superman guy who's traditionally very boring to people. I love Captain America. And so I find the heroes to be more interesting personally, but I understand why people are enticed by villains. I would say it's difficult to relate to heroes in the sense that they're so perfect because villains are more flawed and we as people are very flawed. There's a lot to relate to there. And I think that's what makes them so interesting. It's also hard to believe that some of these characters are purely evil. There's a lot of nuances to Magneto, for example. And so it's fun to see if they're ever going to change their way, so to speak. It's almost like a safe way to explore our dark sides, but I've always sympathized with the good guys regardless. And back to the villains, I guess if you've ever been like an outcast, it makes it easier to like villains. However, there's a lot of heroes, especially with the X-Men, that can be deemed outcasts and are relatable, but are overlooked because of how far they've come in their career, so to speak. But I do like the strategic nature of villains. That's what makes them fun for me personally. That's part of the reason why I find Lex so interesting and like Oz from Watchmen, but sometimes they're cooler because of that, but more so than good guy versus bad guy. Like I said, when liking characters, it's all about what you relate to personally. And then I just so happen to like the heroes more because I like that they inspire hope. I think it's something we can all use to grow in our personal lives. And as boring as heroes may be, it's all about the goals that you aspire to. So that's my take on it. How about you, Berger?
Word. Well, that was very eloquent once again, Joe. I know it's our villain episode, but I too prefer the heroes. Obviously they're the reason I buy the book. It's none too often you see me buy a villain-led book. The most you'll see is like, obviously this is beating a dead horse at this point, bringing up Deathstroke, but that's the closest I'm going to come to reading a villain book. I am drawn, to the heroes. I mean, like you said, it's not even necessarily that I relate to them, but you always want to root for the good guy. That being said, any book could be made or broken by who the villain is. You could read the coolest character in the world. You could read 1,000 Superman books and stuff like that, Batman, whoever. But if the villain sucked, you wouldn't really be picking it up because just street level thugs like nameless henchmen, that's from the 40s, dude. You can't get away with that anymore. So, everybody needs to have a gimmick, a costume. And nowadays, you kind of need a reason to be interested. Kind of like you said, they need to be a little bit more, not necessarily sympathetic, but, whatever. You need to be able to kind of see something. There needs to be a redeemable quality even in the villain nowadays almost, or at least like an admirable trait, like, oh, they're very cunning, like you said. But, the villain is a backbone. We're going to get into it a little bit more later, but think about your favorite comic book heroes. A lot of them don't have good villains. There's like a handful that have elite tier villains and have like a bounty of riches, but a lot of them don't have anybody good. Like, namely, I don't want to pick on her, but Wonder Woman has like Ares and kind of the cheetah, I guess. I mean, just because you know her by name doesn't mean she's that sweet, but like, that's a character who's been around for forever, like 70 plus years, and she has one slash maybe two solid villains, and then what, she fights minotaurs and shit and no one cares. And then but then on the other hand, look at Batman and Spider-Man, and even though they're a little goofier, the Flash, like, they all have like a bunch of good villains. I mean, Superman, but I mean, look at Aquaman, he has two villains. Green Lantern has a couple villains of note. So, a villain is very important in a character's mythos. So, I mean, that was a long way of saying, like, obviously I want to read books about a hero, obviously written in the right voice and all that. But the villain is, half the solution. It takes two to tango.
Well, yeah, the villains they're usually very intelligent, and it's very unpredictable. And so that mystery behind them is what makes the story interesting. But as predictable as the heroes are, it's the consistency that kind of draws me to them.
Yeah, I agree to that. It's just the consistency, and then, them like seeing them in real time overcome their struggles, like what hand they're being dealt by the villain. Because a lot of these times, like even in stories we just read, like Batman Hush and all that, Hush and the Riddler, to that fact, had everyone's number and they knew everything about Batman, and that forced him to be better. And, everybody reading these books wants to be better, I'm sure, because no one's perfect. So that's why we read these books, kind of draw a sense of hope and whatnot, and putting the right foot forward and all that. But honestly, I mean, for this part of the segment, I didn't think I'd have this much to say, and I don't have much more. Do you?
I'm good. Let's move to topic 2. I'm sure I'll remember something later in the day and be like, damn, why didn't I say that on the pod? But that's life.
Story of my life, bro.
Let's move forward.
Yeah, let's have a little bit more fun with this now. That was kind of very serious for whatever reason, and we need to kind of get the energy up. Let's go with our 5 worst villains. This is going to be a mix of, a little bit more of the mainstream folks, a little bit more obscure, because I mean, I don't know what your list looks like, but it's kind of hard to, when you think of the popular villains, which ones are even bad, because obviously they're popular, so they're not that bad. But you know what? I'll let you do your list. Mine's in no particular order. I'll just let you, let's just each go one by one, I suppose, and then we can just kind of riff on it. How's that sound?
Sounds good. I guess it's subject to change because I'm not passionate about this list, but I did put a lot of time into coming up with 5 mainstream villains that I personally have just never
gave a shit about, dude. Whatever.
Yeah, never cared about. So Ultron. So
what the hell?
Yeah, he's created by a character named Hank Pym. When experimenting on artificial life, he successfully was able to fuse like sentience and intelligence, which is cool. But this thing constantly is doing software updates, always like becoming a better version of itself. And I also kind of find it hard to believe that this is like one of the hardest villains for the Avengers to fight.
Yeah,
and
dude,
so,
he's sick.
In that sense, I never really cared for Ultron that much. So
Dude,
instead of
Ultron.
going back and forth, do you want me to go through my list?
No, because now I almost feel like it's tit for tat, because I feel like you love this bum that I'm about to mention, because I like Ultron. He was one of the first characters that kind of drew me in when I was first collecting. I don't remember the exact issue number, forgive me. It was in the upper 100s. It was a Avengers issue. It was a 2-part storyline where Ant-Man's on the cover and he's covering everybody in ants, and Ultron's blasting people. And then there's the part 2, which is the first appearance of Jocasta, which is like, shit, was that Janet Van Dyne put in like a Vision type body? It was like one of them type deals, and because Ultron wanted some punani too, but it didn't really work out like that. Yeah,
I like that we disagree a little bit too. And
yeah,
I do
disagree more.
like that Ultron is a little not sympathetic. you know,
Yeah, he's
but in
just a
that
ruthless
same
robot,
breath,
dude.
like you compare him to Kang, you compare him to Thanos, and I just don't see him as being a threat for the whole Marvel universe the way I see some of those other characters like Galactus.
Well, that brings us to, here's an aside. I say we should read maybe not Age of Ultron, but we should read a Ultron storyline soon, and then let's see if we could turn the tides with you, because I like Ultron.
I'm
That, and
open to change. I am
yeah.
open to change.
And just, I don't know what it is. It's just like when I was into comics, I mean, this was years ago now, but maybe, I mean, I must have been simple-minded even though I was 18. I was just like, that's a cool looking character, especially like the early like Ultron 5. Like, I don't know what it was about like the like face plates and everything and like the ear. And I don't know. It was crazy. He was badass. He was blasting everybody and like they were trying to whack him, trying to bop him one, and he just ate it, dude. I thought that was sick. Like he tossed up the whole Avengers in the issues I was reading, but I just kind of jumped in on a random storyline because I thought it looked cool. But let's table our Ultron talk, and I'll give you one off my list. And like I said, there's no particular number. I kind of hate them all equally. Ask me on the day, I don't care. MODOK. So I know you've been vibing with MODOK lately, so that's why I wanted to jump in since you shat on my boy Ultron like that. But
MODOK is cool, dude. He's
I don't
like,
know, dude. And I hate Patton Oswalt too, so they can both go fucking suck one. So
well, that rendition of the character is different. I grew up watching all this animated stuff, and I remember him being like pretty involved villain for some reason. I don't know
yeah,
if
but
it's
he
just what I watched, but
he
growing up
sucked.
remembering MODOK, it vibes with me. It just reminds me of the 90s. I can't tell you why, but I do like that character.
I have that too, because when I was thinking of this, I was like, who, like, I grew up and I remember seeing this big floating head like all the time, but he instilled a different feeling in me and it pissed me off because he had little T-Rex arms and stubby legs and he floated around always, like yelling and like being obnoxious, but like I felt like he never did anything. Like he's like what is it, modified organism designed to kill or something stupid like that. He can't do anything. He's just a big head. I don't mess with him, dude. I mean, there's definitely, I feel like there's worse villains, but as far as this list go, he deserves it on my list. That
Okay.
being said, your turn.
All right. So my number 4, I'm gonna go with the Mandarin. He's
Okay,
like
so you took one off my list. I'm right there with you. We're just gonna tag team the Mandarin, dude. What is he? A box of oranges? He sucks.
Bro, he's some wealthy man from China. So it makes sense that he's a villain for Tony Stark, considering he's a wealthy hero.
In
But
America.
but his most important tools are his like 10 rings, which have very specific duties that don't do shit. And it's way lamer than like Thanos's Infinity Stones. And so it's
Yeah.
like, what are you doing? And I don't know. It's just like he's so one dimensional to me.
That and
He could have
how
been
you
like a crime boss for Batman, you know? Like that dude ain't shit.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like he's supposed to be billed as Iron Man's arch enemy. Speaking of bad villains, who the hell does Iron Man fight, dude?
That's probably his biggest villain.
Exactly. And he sucks. It's a Chinese guy with cock rings. Like what what are you supposed to and we're supposed to be enthralled by that, dude? It's like why? Like what is exciting about him? Somebody tell me. I'm willing to listen. But really honestly miss me with that. I'm right there with you. So shoot, knock one off both our lists. I feel like we don't need to elaborate any further. It'll just get
Yeah,
mean.
dude, that guy's boring. So I
Yeah, he
guess I'll go to
sucks.
my number 3.
Word.
I'm gonna say Deadshot. So
What?
yes. Yes.
No, you're
So
insane. Like maybe like
seems
Will Smith, Deadshot, but Floyd Lawton from the comics is lit.
I get that. I totally get that. So it always seems to be tied to Suicide Squad one way or
Yeah.
another, but he's never really shined, even though he's kind of like the leader or so heavily associated with that stuff. He's
Mm-hmm.
never a character you really root for or get close to. His origins are actually really deep rooted in DC universe. Like he came out within like the first 100 issues of Batman, actually.
Yeah.
So like it's hard to really hate on him, but I feel like this is a character that could have been groomed to become something like Marvel's Punisher, and he just never lived up to it. So for
Yeah.
all the interesting villains that are in the DC universe, I've never found Deadshot to be very complex or very interesting.
Crazy. So man, I mean, I don't know if I'm just like looking at like easy villains to write off, but you're picking a lot of characters I like other than the Mandarin. Shoot, I'm gonna just tell you my third one. It's Stiltman.
Okay.
Dude, think about this. He comes out in the first 10 issues of Daredevil, a time where he should be teaming with new foes, and his center of gravity is like up with the skyscrapers. You think Daredevil can't knock over a guy on stilts? And it's just like, why is this character stemming all the way back to the Silver Age and is still used today, even though he's clearly a joke? Stiltman, dude, he sucks.
He's not used often enough to make my list, but I
Well,
agree with you.
I can't disparage like Deadshot and stuff like all that, but you know what? Let's put that aside. You know what? Let's get number 2 on your list, dog.
Okay, so my number 2 is going to be Amanda Waller. So she's
Interesting.
not charming, nor does she have superpowers. Her job is cool and requires somebody to be cold. So I get why she's so callous, but
Man,
I don't find her to be interesting.
your list crazy, dog. Batman is like tense with her. Like he has a mutual respect. So does Superman. They all do. Like they know you can't touch her and they know that she's gonna fuck with them and she already is trying to, but they don't know what she's gonna do. She's a bad bitch, dude. And whether she's husky, which I prefer, or she's svelte, she's got the same energy. Big bad bitch Amanda Waller, she's kind of lit. I feel like someone just doesn't like the Suicide Squad.
I know it seems like more than a coincidence that I got 2 of them on there, but there's just so many cool villains I was running through in my head, both on Marvel and DC, like Doctor Doom, Joker, Two-Face, Riddler, Venom, Green Goblin, and it's just like all of them are sweet. So I had to come up with 5, but just what resonates with me personally. But let's hear another one off of your list.
So, I mean, technically, I only have 4 that I feel strongly about, and you've already heard 3. I have honestly like several honorable mentions, but we'll just honestly go straight to the one I hate the most for me. Is that cool with you?
You don't want to lead up to it for your last one?
Fine. Well, let's see. Here's a tiebreaker. One, he's not well known enough, but you know what? Let's go with this one. Kite Man. He's not as big as most of the people you're talking about. You're much more with the big dogs. I honestly can't think of too many big dogs that I really dislike, but I do dislike, especially because I'm on socials a lot, especially on Twitter, even though I barely post us there because I can't stand it. Kite Man. He's an old villain that got repurposed by Tom King into an even bigger joke. And then they use him in media now. So he's in the Harley Quinn show as well. And he's obnoxious and annoying. So people are going to know Kite Man. And they say, Kite Man, hell yeah, or whatever the hell they say. And no, he just sucks. Like, we get it. He's a joke, but like, he still sucks. He's just a guy with a kite that some dipshit wrote hell yeah for 1,000 times and now it's a joke. So this is what I mean. I'm not even making a good point right now just because I literally have concentrated all of my hate into my last pick and it's just on the tip of my tongue, dude. So let's see what yours is. If it's not mine, I'd be very surprised, but once I say mine, you're gonna agree and have to readjust your list. So let's hear yours.
I got a feeling it's going to be just that because maybe we were just in different, mindsets when we
do it.
I feel like I'm not going to pick what you're thinking I'm picking. I'm going to go Hobgoblin.
Ah, that's a terrible pick, but okay, explain.
Okay. So I think the only reason he was created is because people missed Green Goblin after he died. And they didn't want to bring back Norman or Harry. And so it was like their idea of kind of getting away from that. But even though the character like perfected Osborn's like strength and he subbed out the jack-o'-lantern bombs for whatever the fuck he uses. And in a sense, he's just a lamer.
Pumpkin bombs too.
If he does maybe I'm wrong. Spears? I think so. But he just has always come across as like a lamer version of the Green Goblin to me. I mean, so I understand why they tried it, but it didn't ever feel unique.
I mean, I smell what you're stepping in. He's kind of like the Diet Coke Green Goblin. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I mean, a Diet Coke's fine if you don't got regular. Like, I ain't gonna enjoy it as much, but like, if I'm thirsty. But no, I mean, no one can hold a candle to the OG Green Gobbler. But the Hobgobbler, he's pretty I'm cool with the Hobgobbler. He's fine. Like, he's a menace to society as well. He's got a little glider. Sure. He likes throwing shit at Spider-Man. He's also, he goes way back with Spidey. He's Ned Leeds, so it's like they got history. And it's just like he was introduced back in issue? It was in the first 20 issues. It was like 18 or 19 or something. And I wasn't 19.
It was early where Ned got introduced, but it was quite a bit later when Hobgoblin got introduced.
Yeah, we're talking what, issue 238. So
Yeah.
they didn't come full circle on that and for hundreds of issues. But we approach this list very differently, and I think that's a good thing. I like to leave an open essay type answer here. It's not multiple choice. It's how do you interpret this question?
I think I know who you're gonna pick as your least favorite.
Do you?
I
Well,
do.
let me say it and then let me hear you agree, because you have to know who it is, especially
Okay.
based off how this list is going.
Just go
Number
for it, dude.
one, number one, the all-time worst villain on Andrew Berger's list, the Batman Who Laughs.
Oh man, I wish I would have got that.
I told you you'd agree. He's a piece of shit, dude. Literally the laziest sack of hack garbage that could have ever been made. Looks like a Judge Dredd villain, the Judge Death, but literally just the Joker Batman skin for Fortnite, pretty much, is all this guy is. He's literally one dimensional. He got his whole own event, which was also garbage. And now we got dorks cosplaying it. Looks like they have jaundice with a fucking collar on. Weirdos. I don't like it. It's the worst character ever. It's literally the Batman and the Joker, like 50-50. And why did it have to happen? Because now look at the state of comics. This fucking dipshit's everywhere.
It's so modern, I didn't even think about it, but you're absolutely right, and I might have to readjust my list.
I told you, bro. It's like when I was thinking of this, I literally had to like really think back. I had to think through my books. I had to go on. I was just scrolling through the internet. I was just like, who really is just a terrible villain? And then he was the first thing that came to mind. I had to round out the rest. I was just like, this guy sucks. It literally single-handedly has caused me more, I don't even know how to
Hemorrhoids.
say. Yeah, hemorrhoids, like stress, hair loss. Like, he sucks. Modern comics are a reflection of the Batman Who Laughs. And the fact that this throwaway character got like 3 years of run, especially in one convoluted, awful storyline, bothers me, because he's not good. He's not even an original thought. And yet everyone eats it up like it's fucking cocaine pancakes, dude. It sucks. It's like, what's the point of this? Can we just act like it never happened?
Probably not, but we can, and our followers can.
Our followers could, and they should. If you don't, it's fine. But we don't.
We forgive you, but
We forgive you, but we don't like it.
just setting the expectation here. I do have an honorable mention of a character, a villain who's very, very popular, and I probably will catch a lot of flack for this. And so I didn't put him on my list, but
Do it.
Loki, the god of mischief, looks like he deserves a fucking wedgie, dude, or a swirly. Courtesy of me, dude. I will kick his ass.
Dude, are you just like seeing yourself like punching Tom Hiddleston or something, or
Something, dude.
Like, is it him, or is it the like comic book version, or are you just like you just see him in Avengers and you're just like, I don't like that guy? Well, honorable mention on my list is Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk count.
As a villain.
He was a fucking
fuck
villain
that
to
guy.
my movie watching experience, dude. He
Oh
made me
my
hate
god.
every scene he was in. But
Oh my god. Yeah, I
yes.
wasn't a fan of him as the Hulk either.
Yeah, he's a villain, dude.
He did try to sabotage the role. So in a sense.
In a sense. So with that, I say let's put a bow on it. Those are the top 5 worst villains. If you recall, or if you're new here, we did go over a kind of joint list of episodes ago now, where we, kind of butted heads and kind of figured out who the top 5 best were. And, that's a little bit harder because there are good villains. These suck. So I don't know if you're a fan, or if you aren't already, just avoid the characters we told you about. I mean, you could like Deadshot, Ultron, and Hobgoblin, but the rest of them... the rest of them
I'm not saying to dislike those characters. I just try to pick stuff that was mainstream because it's easy to throw some obscure characters under the bus. Like they clearly didn't work out. So it's not that I passionately dislike those villains. It's just they're my least favorite out of the mainstream villains available.
I hate mine.
Okay.
Modoc's like the least abrasive one here. Like, he's the best one, but the rest of them are straight garbage. That being said, let's get into our final topic for the evening. So this is a more fun one. So let's just say voluntarily we're living in the comic book universe. We're either in Manhattan or where have you in the Marvel universe, or we're across the world in the DC Comics universe. If you had to pick one villain to voluntarily work for, who would you want to work for? whether you're a henchman or what have you, who would be your choice employer? I'll let you go first. And I
Okay.
think I know your answer.
So Lex is way too obvious, so I chose something different. So I'm gonna pick Ra's al Ghul. I will check the
Interesting.
pH levels of that Lazarus pit, dude. Whatever it takes. I'll add chlorine to that motherfucker if I have to, because he's just some international terrorist to train Batman to become really cool, and maybe in Damien, and maybe if he could train me to be really cool, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, you think that's how it's gonna go?
No,
You
I
think you're gonna stroll
probably
up to like Batman's Al Qaeda and you're just gonna come in and become a ninja?
That's just best case scenario. But
What's
at
worse?
least there's a little opportunity there.
Yeah, there's a lot of room for growth.
I feel like I could kind of move up, kind of get like, I don't know, like promotion.
Assistant to the regional manager of the League of Assassins.
Yeah, so that's my choice. Not too much more to that. What about yourself, buddy?
Well, I can go off the beaten path as well. I was thinking you were going to go with Lex Luthor because that would be obvious. And I thought I'd do a foil to that and go with Norman Osborn because I'd go work at Oscorp. I mean, it's not too different than what I'm doing now. So
that would have been a good one too.
You fucking punch in and punch out, dude. But I'm going to go a little more zesty like you, maybe a little bit less dangerous. I'm going to go work for Dr. Doom. So
is that less dangerous?
Yeah, because he's the ultimate cockhead, but he loves his country. And you know what I'm going to do when I work for him? I'm probably going to be plowing the fields in his country, dude. It's an industrious country with a great economy, and he cares very much for Latveria, dude. I'm going to go work for him because, I mean, he's a dick, but he's not overly aggressive. There might be some random ninjas running around that might get you.
He's so obsessed with power where I feel like
but he runs
Ra's al Ghul is more about creating a utopia.
Yeah, but utopias are always dystopias. And
Correct.
Dr. Doom,
and that's why he's a villain. But Doom, I don't know that he really has good intentions.
He loves his country, dude. And all I'm saying is that all he's trying to do is take care of his country and then also, get with...
That's all he's doing?
Yeah. He's trying to get with Reed Richards' woman. He's trying to mac and he's trying to take care of his people. And you know what? I could go sweep the castle floors, dude. I can go, Windex his faceplate. I can go do whatever you need to do. Like, he's probably pretty cool. He literally also has an entire country that he rules. So I'm sure he pays fairly decent.
It kind of be like working for Darth Vader.
What's wrong with that? I mean, as long as you're not like out of line, you're probably going to get good perks.
Well, I guess you are the type to say your prayers and take your vitamins. So
that's what I'm saying. I'm just hoping, dude. You know me, I just put my head down, I punch in, I punch out. Like I ain't, wisecracking Dr. Doom, I'm not serving him his soup and, asking him, telling him the joke of the day. I'm just, head down, put the soup on the table and walk out. And then I go back to my apartment and just chill, I guess. Like, simple, easy life, dude. I imagine it as being like Poland with an authoritative dictator that cares. That's kind of what I imagine Dr. Doom to be.
Okay.
It's like going back to the motherland, dude. Just going to, Eastern Europe and just hanging out.
You should tell that to the Fantastic Four.
Maybe they're just seeing it the wrong way. It's all about optics.
Word. All right. Well, I think that puts a pretty bow on our episode.
Yeah, and disclaimer, we're not saying that we're gonna go work for them, but that's who we would have to pick, But Joe's gonna be a ninja and I'm gonna be fucking picking potatoes in a field somewhere or something in Latveria. So yeah, that's our villain episode, guys. Let us know how you like it in the comments, in the reviews, hit us up on Facebook. Good news. Special announcement on that, by the way. You can listen to all of the pods on there now as well. I don't think you could download it, but you can share it easier. You can make clips. You can comment on it. And you can even lock your screen and listen to it, something you can't do on YouTube. So you can now find us on Facebook Podcasts, on our page on Comic Book Junkies at CBJ Podcast. You can listen to us there. Find us on Instagram at CBJ Pod. Rate, review, tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell the postman, whoever. Spread the word of good comic news. And yeah, next time we're doing another topic. And what that topic is, you'll find out either on Instagram or you'll find out as you're downloading it. So you know what? Stay tuned for that one. And I'm sure you'll like it. with that, we'll catch you later.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening.
Peace.